Hey everybody, in today's video, let's talk about how to face your fears. I just wanted to make a real quick video talking about this subject for a couple of reasons. I just made this other video on my entertainment channel talking about, but it was me facing the 50 most common fears. There were different fears that a lot of you guys submitted and other Instagram followers that I had that they submitted for me to face these fears for people. So whatever people's biggest fear was, I went ahead and I faced it for them. And so essentially I'm going to be summarizing to what I learned throughout this experience and why it was valuable, and hopefully what this experience can help you learn in your life. And you know, if you're ever in a situation where you have certain fears that you want to face, or you're in situations where maybe you're afraid of something and there's something that you want but it's holding you back from that fear is holding you back from getting it, hopefully this video will also serve as some motivation and inspiration for you to take those actions regardless of that fear to get what you want. And in addition to that, it can also give you some of those actionable strategies that we're going to be talking about for you to bring those into your daily life or the life whenever you encounter fear. And so let's go ahead and dive into it. Part of the reason that this has also been on my mind is because I have been rereading one of my favorite books. It's called The Way of the Superior Man. And in that book, it talks about living at your edge. And what he defines as your edge is that space right beyond your comfort zone. It's not so far out into the crazy, wilderness of fear that like you can't even fathom what is going on. I guess essentially like it would be like being put in the craziest unsafe situation, like in the middle of a war zone, right? That is just so beyond anybody's comfort zone that's not your edge. And on the opposite side is just perfectly at home, living a completely docile life, and the issue for that can then be that maybe you're not expanding yourself to grow, you're not pushing your boundaries, and you're not constantly expanding and going further into your personal growth. So as I was planning out this video for facing the 50 fears, it was interesting seeing what some of the most common 50 fears were. See, some of the fears were very understandable fears. There was like the fear of heights, there was the fear of sharks, snakes, spiders, that type of stuff. And then you had other fears that were, to me, seemed totally irrational. For example, like the fear of buttons, the fear of trees, the fear of butterflies, and this type of stuff that seems like then it's totally, in my opinion, it almost seems irrational because those fears are so illogical that I guess the only thing that I recognized was that some of those people develop those fears clearly because of emotional traumas that they've gone through and whatever associations they've made. So as I was going through this video, when it came time to actually face things that I was, kind of afraid of, like, I had to go and deal with snakes and spiders and stuff, and like some of that stuff was actually, that brought up the feeling of fear inside of me, and it was something that I had to face. So essentially, as this emotion of fear got brought up inside of my body, I recognized what it was. And by recognizing what it was, it's interesting to see the type of sensations that were going on through my body. And as I was going through those sensations, I decided what I was going to do was I was going to try to understand it every single time to see why I was afraid of a certain thing, and to see if I could logically understand the other side to see why maybe I didn't need to be afraid. One of the things that I had to do was play with one of these snakes actually, and I was talking to this guy. He was talking to me how he's been bitten by this snake before, and he wasn't trying to scare me, but he was just trying to explain to me what happens, why the snake will bite you and whatnot, and what his mistakes were. And the more I understood about this snake, the easier it was actually to understand why I shouldn't be afraid of it. That doesn't mean to throw caution out, and forget to be cautious, but it actually helped me relax to know and have logical information to back certain things so that I no longer had to feel fear in that situation. Now, then we get to, so I was able to face that fear pretty calmly. Now we get to another fear that I was actually kind of surprised that I wasn't very scared of, and it was the fear of heights. So I went bungee jumping and I jumped off the tallest bridge in North America, or the tallest bungee jump in North America. It was so cool. And I actually wasn't very afraid of it because surprisingly, bungee jumping is safer than driving in your car anywhere. So having that logical information also helped me not be afraid of that situation. So what I took away from those two situations was, first of all, if you have the logical informational resources to help you overcome a fear, that will go a long way in helping you achieve that and being able to get past any fear in your life. Now, the second part, where there were certain fears that I had to face that, for example, I just didn't want to face in general. And there was a part of me I noticed internally that was split up between what the fear actually was and not needing to be afraid of it. One of the ones was the fear of public speaking. So I had this megaphone, and I was going to go, give out this little speech in public. And even though I wasn't in any danger, right? That one was actually the one that was like the most difficult for me to do. So I understood why people were like, okay, the fear of public speaking is a genuine fear. And there's something about that logically, I knew there was nothing that was going to go on. So as for this type of fear, this was a purely emotional situation. And understanding this purely emotional situation, I recognized that the only way for me to be able to overcome this fear was actually just going to be through courage and through bravery. And what I want to bring up that is important about courage and bravery is that these two things can only exist when fear exists. Now, I think a lot of times society wants to tell you to be fearless, or to forget that fear even exists, or you're supposed to pretend that this emotion isn't happening inside of you, when that's not actually the case. Fear is always going to be a part of life. It's never going to go away. The only thing that really exists is degrees of fear, or degrees of fearlessness, if you want to put it that way. But there's always going to be some amount of fear really in all of life. And when those moments come about, I think there is a certain skill set that comes with being able to encourage yourself to have the bravery to face a fear, and then actually, after you face that fear, give yourself a positive reinforcement for facing that fear. Actually congratulate yourself for feeling that fear, so that you can start to create these positive associations with facing your fear. So now that I've kind of got that out of the way, I think it's important to talk about it in the broader spectrum of your life and what this means for you as a whole. What does this actually mean in your life? And I think what this could be important for people in general is that we all have things that we desire in life, whether it's for example, a new job, new home, or maybe, a new lifestyle, maybe a new partner in life. And there's certain things that can go on with this. If you feel that you have a certain desire in life, and for example, maybe you don't want to be in a certain relationship that you're in, but you're afraid of ending it because you don't want to be alone and certain things are going on inside of your life, it's important to recognize a couple of things. First, can you use logic to help you understand and be able to get over the fear? If you can do that, then sweet. Just arm yourself with some logic and it should be a lot easier, right? Then there's situations where you're going to be in those purely fear-based situations where it's purely emotional, and there's really not going to be any logic that's going to help you regardless of the situation you're in. In those situations, it's important to bring up that courage inside of you so that you can take action on the things that you actually want to be able to accomplish in life. And a lot of the times, when there's something that you want in life, you're always going to run into that fear. There's going to be certain roadblocks. There's going to be certain things that slow you down from accomplishing that goal. And I think it's just important for you to recognize that first, having that desire is healthy. It's always healthy to desire something. Running into that fear, it's going to be inevitable no matter what you do. And then the third thing that is important to recognize about this whole situation is that even though you're having these things kind of inside of you, in order to get what you actually want out of life, you have to be willing to face that fear. And facing that fear is going to help you live just beyond your edge. Don't push yourself. Don't bulldoze yourself. Don't force yourself to do something that you're truly, genuinely uncomfortable with, but try to do a little something to expand your boundaries every single time that you come up with one of these situations, so that you can ensure that you're living your happiest, healthiest, and most full life. So thank you for watching this video. If you want to support me as a creator, please click the link in the description down below to sign up for the Patreon, where you also get exclusive content for being a part of the group. Thank you so much. I will see you guys on the next video. Hit subscribe.